Alright,
Should be
guys.
downvoted.
We're here for our monthly hangout with the guys from OKCoin. We have a rather large panel today. We got me at Bitcoin Bravo, at Flibber, at BTC Drake, at AABTC, and at BitInvest. You can find us on either IRC chat, Coin Markets, or in the Whale Club TeamSpeak channel. I'll put all that info in the show notes. So, we have our two guests here. We have Zane, the International Marketing Manager, and CZ, the OKCoin CTO. So, Zane, we've gotten to know you pretty well, so I won't ask you again to give us some background. But, OKCoin now, going from 2014 to 2015, what kind of focus do you see changing, or what kind of vision is going forward from your seat as the international marketing manager? And we just literally lost Zane. So let me just we'll just move it over to CZ since we're waiting for Zane to come back on. So what's kind of like your vision as far as a product's perspective as we see the capital market that is Bitcoin develop? We've seen the spot trading, spot with leverage, futures. What do you see going forward from like a Bitcoin trading perspective?
Okay. So I think I think the futures product is coming together now. I think it's very active. It's fairly mature. We're tweaking little features here and there. So I think going into 2015, I think we'll continue to enhance both products on the spot market and also on the futures. We just opened up the margins feature. Like basically, people can loan bitcoins or loan money to other people to trade on the international exchange. So I think that should be interesting, and it's picked up. A lot of users are using it already. So that's quite nice to see. So I think in the short term, we can't in this Bitcoin space, we can't really plan all the way a year out. Things just change too quickly. So I think in the short term, we're just gonna make those three products more mature. We have been spending quite a lot of effort getting the OK Link product, which is the wallet product, out. So that was a little bit of a distraction on the effort. But I think in terms of trading, we will see more and more advanced trading tools available on OKCoin.com. We released the full screen trading for futures, and we are adding that for the spot markets as well as we speak. So that should be available probably sometime next week. So in terms of big plans, there was discussions about doing options or not, but I don't think we're gonna quite do options just yet. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff being talked about, but nothing's really for sure.
And yeah, I actually kind of, coming from an options trading background, I don't feel like the market is quite ready for options yet. Eventually, yes, but we did. I think I was having a Twitter conversation with you on like a VIX-like product, a volatility index.
Yeah.
We actually did receive news that BitMEX, Arthur, the CTO, was talking, or the CEO was talking to us, and they'll be releasing a historical volatility tradable futures product as soon as next week. So I'm not specific to what they're doing, but what did you find in your research as far as maybe doing a volatility product? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think publishing a volatility index is not that hard. Doing exactly what VIX is doing is a little bit tricky. I don't know. Well, I look at the formula. To be honest, I didn't really quite follow everything. I think they took into consideration of open orders on their market or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's many other ways to calculate volatility. There's a lot of Greeks we can calculate. There's value at risk we can calculate. So all of those are easy. Yeah, and then when we were considering doing the option, not that we considered. When we were looking at options, we of course discussed those as well. So yeah, I mean, if we know any specific Greeks or any specific formula that we want to calculate, it's not that hard. I just didn't quite understand the VIX formula that well, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean the traditional VIX, the CBOE VIX is it's a calculation based upon the calls and puts on the S&P 500. So that's why I'm using the word VIX-like. But you can use the historical volatility, which is just
Yes.
a basic calculation, and that's what I believe BitMEX is doing. And I'm not so interested in the index. I mean, I can go on TradingView and look at the historical volatility. What I'm looking for, though, is a tradable futures product of that index. So a way mainly that our traders like us not only have another product to trade, which is, like our deep down, motives, but also that we can hedge off volatility risk. There's another component now for us to, in a tool, a product that would serve us in that way.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, that's pretty interesting. We'll wait till next week to see what BitMEX does, and if what they do gets a lot of traction, then we might just copy them. So
Yeah, I mean, we're traders here and we want the best products available, so it doesn't have to be any one entity doing it. If one person sees it and they want to do it similar or different, I know they're going to do the limit down, limit up model, which, I mean, we can go back and forth on in a little bit, but just just something to think about. So, thank you. That was kind of your intro, CZ. I see Zane's back. I know he ended up getting disconnected or whatever, but I'll just quickly repeat my question. So, Zane, what does it look like on the going forward on the marketing front for OKCoin as you transition from 2014 to 2015? I know there's been a big push internationally. Can you just articulate on what's going on over there?
Yeah, so in 2014, we only got our international exchange launched on July 23rd. So we've only had it up for about 5 months. And during that time, we were dealing with a lot of language issues, a lot of usability issues for the Western market. And now that we feel like we have a more polished product, something that we can really push and then not get embarrassed with, simple mistakes and errors when it comes to language, we'll really start to try and push harder into the international market. And I think a good step that shows that we're really dedicated to this is that we'll have SEPA banking soon. We've talked to some banks in Europe, and it looks like we're pretty close to having a SEPA bank set up. And so from there, we can really start to push the fact that we are going after the international market. We have a website that's more polished and much easier to use for Westerners, and we have features such as SEPA withdrawals and SEPA deposits that that our Western users can use, and it'll add a lot of convenience and functionality to the site.
And then are you guys looking to expand to like South America and stuff? I know that you hired Emily recently. She's from Costa Rica. Is that going to be some of the focus too?
Well, South America is a large market, and it's definitely not something that we want to ignore. And a lot of the South America is really good use cases for Bitcoin. Places like Brazil and Argentina that have pretty bad inflation and aren't too pleased with the way that their government is dealing with the currencies. And I think had a representative attend a conference in Brazil at the beginning of December, the Latin America Bitcoin conference. And we do have support for Spanish. We have Spanish support now through Emily. So yeah, the South America continent is something that we do have our eyes on, and is a market that we would like to allow access to.
All right, and then with that, what's new at OKCoin as far as feature set goes since we last talked? You have a little list to run down there?
I don't have a list, but I think I can go off the top of my head. So the big one is obviously the full screen trading. We went ahead and added. We had a lot of complaints about our charts and how people are having to use another site for charts and then trade on OKCoin. So we added the full screen trading, which comes with, in my opinion, a very good set of charts, as well as a lot of indicators and a lot of drawing tools. So that kind of offers our traders a full featured trading interface, and I feel like it comes with a lot of things that not a lot of other places have, like the tap to populate. It shows you the cumulative amounts on the order book, so you can just get one click and it'll fill to that order. And so that's the big one. That's the one that we spent a lot of time on, and we're pretty happy to see. Another one is the peer-to-peer lending. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sliver, did you want to say anything about their charts? I know you're the more of the TA guy, so is there anything you wanted to say with that rollout?
With the new full screen feature.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I know there's a few bugs that Jim BTEC has made me aware of, but the only thing I can think of at the top of my head is I don't know if anybody else notices, you can only see like 3 orders or 4 orders at the maximum, at any one time. Like open orders, because like if your open orders box is only so big along the bottom, and if you've got more open orders and what that box is big enough, there's no way to scroll down through them.
Yeah, I agree.
And
that's something that I did notice as well.
Yeah.
And that's go ahead.
It just makes it unworkable because you can't see all your orders.
Okay, that's a pretty good suggestion. We have when we designed it, we just set 4 orders just because the screen space was pretty tight. We can consider making that scrollable actually.
Yeah, the total upgrade to that I thought was like where you've got a dividing line for each section of it. If you make it like full screen, the kind of like the ticker is suddenly really, really wide. I'm not really that interested in having it that wide. I'll have to make it a bit narrower. So like one idea I came up with was to say like each of those dividing panes on it would actually be scrollable, so you could move it and resize it, so I can make the chart smaller and my orders bigger. And the only other thing I would say about it as well was that I can't see, like if I go on my open orders now, I can see all contracts open orders, whereas on the full screen panel, I can only see the open orders for that individual contract. And I kind of like having the ability to see all of them on all contracts at any one time.
We also made that limit on the full screen trading, which is you only see your orders on that tab. There's some performance issues with seeing all of the orders. We can potentially we are looking into that. But also we're gonna within the next couple of days we're gonna make the adjustment so that the right-hand side of the screen split, like where you see the order book and also where you enter orders, going to have a maximum width where if your screen's really wide, the candlestick charts will be a lot wider, whereas the right-hand side of the screen will not become too wide.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Zane, continue down the what's new list.
All right. We also added the peer-to-peer lending on OKCoin.com. We had a lot of complaints and comments that people wanted to lend on OKCoin.cn, but for regulatory reasons, we had a limit on who could lend and had to put up a bond and had to have a registered company. But on OKCoin.com, we went ahead and opened it up for everybody, and it's an open lending market. And we had quite a big waiting list on OKCoin.cn for the ability to loan. So now that we've opened that up on OKCoin.com, we hope a lot of the people that wanted to lend on CN will move to .com and do their lending there. And we hope that that'll drive usage on the spot market for OKCoin.cn or OKCoin.com and lead to an increase of liquidity. So that one was another pretty big one that we were happy about. And then most recently, we went ahead and added before we only had the stop order, stop loss, but now we also have the take profit on futures, or we have a trigger buy order now as well. So we had the trigger stop order, and now we have the trigger buy order. So we have it go both ways now.
Cool.
And besides that, I can't think of any more features that we had. I think I've mentioned this before, but one thing that we were kind of looking at doing is we had the futures product out there, and we had the basic functionality, and we had the basic functionality on spot, but we wanted to add, or we wanted to just polish what we had and make it a better user experience. And so that's what we had been working pretty heavily on, that and the full screen trading view.
Yeah, I
So
think
now that we have the product out and we're really starting to polish it, we can start looking at more features now that we have the product out and much more polished.
yeah, I think it's coming a long ways, and although the progress is slow because us traders always want things yesterday, it's certainly moving that direction. I know the cancel all button is also new. Is a thing that we've been kind of harping on, which helps in quick markets.
The cancel all button?
Yeah, the cancel all orders button.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just pivot a little bit here. Our last Hangout got quite a bit of Reddit views because, CZ, you spoke of a large hedge fund that was utilizing the OKCoin platform. Do you care to, now that it's kind of come out, do you want to elaborate at all on that, or what they're in regards to that hedge fund that's using your platform?
Yeah, well, actually, I think the last time when I mentioned that, it kind of caused a backslash because I shouldn't really talk about the client's activities. But I think, well, basically, I think in general, we are getting a lot more institutional accounts, and they have been very active on our platforms. So I wouldn't talk about any specific, especially specific to the hedge fund. But generally, we're not losing customers. We're adding a lot more customers internationally.
Okay.
I have a question. When you say that more and more institutional accounts are being opened, can you give us an idea of what the geographical distribution is? Is this within China or outside China, just to keep it easy?
It's actually mostly outside of China. The situation is in China, even large funds, they have no problem using personal accounts. And that happens even on the stock market in China. Guys with a couple billion RMB, they're trading using a personal account.
Right.
So in China, we don't see that many institutional accounts. It's all outside of China.
All right, cool.
Can you talk about demographics, like, I mean, the American companies and European companies like this?
I think there's a bit of both. I think right now we're seeing probably a little bit more. Right now, like the top brands in the Bitcoin space are sort of from America at the moment. Quite a lot of them do not have registered companies in America, but some of their brands are very strong in America. We don't have permission to talk about them to release their brands yet. But I think in the next little while, we will get permission from some of the accounts to use their names publicly.
Sure. I mean, just demographics is kind of enough, I think.
Yeah, I think so far we're seeing more North American institutional investors, accounts, than Europe. I think Europe's we see a little bit less, but I think we're hoping that with the opening of the SEPA Bank, we're going to see that increase. And in Asia, we're seeing not so many institutional accounts, but more. There's already a very large number of large personal accounts, and some of them can be quite large. So yeah, that's at a very high level, that's kind of the demographics.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Flipper, do you have those screenshots fired up? Because we've definitely seen a lot of outpouring on Reddit, just in general what we see go across the tape. I know that the word fake is used as far as describing the volume. I like to use the word manufactured volume. Flipper, do you want to put up that chart and take us through it?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can see my screen here. Is that up and running okay?
Yeah, if anybody that's on the panel, if you just click on Flipper, you should be able to see it.
So yes, I mean I see this myself as well, and I know loads of people have got serious issues with it because it's, in my opinion, just absolutely indescribable as to what exactly is going on. I just have no idea. Because like take this example for this screenshot, for example. What we've got is like there's no. This is a 3-minute chart, and you're looking at here. What 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You look at 9 3-minute candles where there's absolutely zero movement on the price in terms of candlesticks, but you have this constant stream of trades just ticking away all the time. And I mean, that's the one thing, and it's like the other thing a lot of people see as well is this type of thing, this where you just get like this, like you see the previous volume on the past goes nothing, nothing, nothing. Then suddenly, with next to no volume in the candles again, you just get this huge spike of contracts being traded with nothing really popping up on the book. And like, if they're incurring fees on that, how is that working? What exactly is going on there? You know, nobody knows, and that's why it's put to you guys. Say, you know, what do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Okay. Is this for the LTC or BTC contracts? This is for
BTC contracts.
Okay. So, so basically, there was a few marketing campaigns launched in China, and the campaigns are sort of targeted more specifically to Chinese users because we were following our competitors who launched similar marketing promotions. And those promotions had the top volume contests. There were gifts giving out, but the gifts were or the prizes were more very Chinese focused. Like they include like books written in Chinese, published by OKCoin, and some of the there were marketing campaigns that kind of launched and that kind of encouraged people to trade. And there were people who were very gung ho about winning those prizes, and we actually saw some of this, and actually we actually had to call people to stop trading like this because it causes problems for us. So there were no like at this point it doesn't make sense for us to manufacture trades like this, but a lot of our users, because of our marketing promotions and other incentives, they sometimes do this on themselves, and we actually have to call them to stop doing this because it just looks very strange. So we have had a few of those issues, and there were also issues where other people's bots have gone haywire. Probably not. They don't produce charts like this, but there are times where in the past I would say within the past 2 months or so, we have had instances where people's trading algos have gone haywire, and they actually lost a lot of money, but they produce very unusual trading patterns on the exchange. But the most extent we can do is basically call a guy and say, hey, look, could you stop? But we can't really prevent them if they don't. We can't really force them to stop. We don't cancel people's orders. We don't. We don't interfere with people's trades to the extent possible. So.
If I can just come in with something else about this, and I mean to do like this is one example is 1,500 contracts. I mean what somebody else posted the other day. I think they were doing 4,000 contracts a time for about 45,000 contracts over like a 1-minute candle. I mean that's a lot of contracts. That's going to be a lot of BTC. I mean the fees in that they're going to be significant, you know. So other people on OKCoin.com futures, you know, maybe these institutions, whatever, that are operating on a zero fee policy?
No, actually, right now nobody's on a zero fee policy on OKCoin.com. What we had, right before there was a big prize for winning a car for the largest volume trader, and people were calculating the cost of the car and the cost of the fees, and there was we actually we got a little bit of a backlash on. So it's actually very difficult to run a exchange both in China and internationally. There's been a lot of issues, a lot of challenges. Marketing is actually one of the greatest challenges we face running a truly global exchange. So our competitors in China who only focus on the Chinese market, they would run prizes, giving away cars, giving away other things in China, and people treat trading like a game. And we, unfortunately, because a significant part of our users are still Chinese users, so we had to follow on some of those marketing initiatives. And for example, people are just basically calculating it basically comes down to a situation where if you're giving away a car, there's multiple people calculating the trading cost to almost the car. But then if you have 3 people doing the same thing, then their trading fees may add up to more close to 3 cars, but only one of them will win the car. But and that causes people to do a lot of this kind of you can either call it wash trades or manufacture trades, but they would pick a time at night where it's very quiet, and they'll have 2 bots or from 2 accounts and do this kind of trades.
Okay,
and
if
we
I can just
the next day, and we tell them, hey guys, don't do this.
If I can just add one more thing in then about this, and that is Phil Potter from Finex. He was telling us about that one way you could address the wash trade accusation, you know, the fake selling to yourself volume stuff, because again, lots of people, I mean, I don't mind it because you can see it most of the time, you spot it, identify it, and I just accept it and just move on. But a lot of people do have issues with it, and the suggestion was to say you could identify and say like, oh, this user is selling to himself, therefore we'll let the trade go through, but we just won't show it on the ticker. Has that ever been talked about, discussed, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we thought about that, but most of the time they actually use 2 accounts to trade, and it's very hard to judge which 2 accounts to the trades between which 2 accounts to ignore. Also, if a person trades with themselves and then we don't show that in the market data, that causes problem for that user. That user can accuse us of when he makes a trade, it doesn't show up on the ticker. That itself may be a problem. So we thought about that, and there were also other suggestions, such as but basically there were other suggestions that was being brought up to kind of either hide this problem or just remove this problem. But all of those suggestions have drawbacks, where for those particular users, or if we identify those people wrong, and we're messing with the trade data, that actually is bad. So for now, I think the safest way, for now, like basically, we haven't found a very good solution to. Basically, it's very dangerous to touch the trading data, so we don't do it. We just publish as is. And the downside is we get a lot of backlashes when there are this kind of really weird behavior on the exchange. But we basically try to catch those people and tell them to stop. So kind of after the fact. I think it's quite dangerous to sort of mess around with the data. We haven't figured out a perfect way to do it.
Maybe a solution would be, I mean, it's not particularly a solution, but you could put in your terms of service that you don't appreciate and you don't, endorse people making wash trades, and that you may be asked to stop. I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, from a technical standpoint, I don't see there's any way to stop wash trades, because at the end of the day, people can run multiple accounts and there's no way to know. And until there's regulation which makes it illegal, then there's really no reason for people to not do it, you see. So I think that's probably the best medium.
Yeah, and and because it's a truly global exchange, even if we regulate it in one place, it probably doesn't apply to other places. So
Exactly.
basically what we do is, as you said, I think we're having our term of services where we have the right, or we reserve the right to suspend account if we want to, but we generally don't do that just because they're trading in a weird way. Because we don't think we can identify all the weird ways correctly, and if we do that, we're going to misjudge quite a lot of users and cause problems.
You might.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
I just wanted to say that instead of I mean, you can just take a passive approach if you have things that go wrong in the market, like for example the thing Flavor showed with the price not moving for several minutes. That's probably something you might notice yourself as well at the exchange. Just making a simple tweet saying that there was unusual activity last night or something, it might help a lot of people with not suspecting OKCoin itself of doing the wash trades, because people have become quite wary of exchanges using certain methods to pump up whatever their stats. So if something like in the market actually changes the price for a significant amount of time, you might want to communicate about that the next day or the next hour or whatever.
Yeah,
Actually, yes, I think that's a
car,
very good suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, just I mean the car example, and like you say, they work out the value of the car and the value of the fees, and boom, I'll just do that. It just makes perfect sense. So
Yeah. It's a little bit of a trade-off because it was really tough because we didn't really want to push the car thing internationally because I think most of the international serious traders will just laugh at us, and also people will complain it's unfair. But it caused other problems that we couldn't really explain very easily. But I think in the future, I think that's a very good suggestion, which is we should just be very we should just actively explain what's going on.
Yeah. I think in your terms of service, the way to really phrase it is that if users trade in a way which kind of causes denial of service, or disruption to the platform and to other traders, then the accounts might be suspended, and this can include high volume wash trading, for example. I mean, you could have that as a kind of example of something.
Yes.
While we're just on denial of service, I know you want to come in, Vix. But if we can just skip from this after to that recent downtime, that'd be great. Go on, Vix.
Yeah, and just on that same lines, I noticed you guys changed your fee structure to a fixed fee structure versus the maker-taker model. And, I'd been a long time, I guess, proponent of the maker-taker model. I used to think it was very incentivizing. But I noticed there was a lot of issues where, the order book would almost be phantom. Like, Flipper, do you have that screenshot where you market sold 13 contracts and dropped the price like $18?
I don't have it at hand, but I mean, Vix and CZ and Zane did get back to me and both say, tough luck, market moved, and what can you do? It's just the way it is, isn't it?
With that example, we actually did look into it and see what was going on, because that was really weird. And so we went through and looked at the trades that went through at that time. And when we looked at the trades, we did see that it wasn't anything buggy, nothing went wrong. It was just extremely unfortunate. The trades went through as they should, and we saw that people pulled their orders right before Flipper placed his. And yeah, it was just poor timing and bad circumstance on that situation.
Yeah, I mean, and
Go ahead,
I take your word for that. And while we're talking about pulling orders and stuff like that, I think that's a great channel to go into colocation. But if we can just address that downtime, that recent downtime spat, literally for like 2 minutes, that'd be great.
Are we doing the downtime? You want to do? Yeah. What went on with the downtime recently?
Yeah, so we had two DDoS attacks, I think last Friday and Sunday, and we basically, when we did the DDoS attack, we have a very good DNS service, and we can point the domain to a different server, and activate Cloudflare, etc. But we had two DDoS attacks, and one of them was actually targeted at a number of exchanges. Quite a number of our competitors got targeted at the same time as well. DDoS attacks is one of the things that's very difficult to prevent completely because you just can't control what other people do. If you're always under attack mode, then your normal service level is not quite good. So when we're attacked, we just respond as quickly as we can. And we're improving the infrastructure to our network to make it more to make the access speed more acceptable to everybody internationally. But that's an ongoing challenge. Every once in a while, we still get a user that comes in and says, "Hey, I'm from this place on Earth, and I can't really connect to your servers," and and they will be trading manually through the web, and so they couldn't use colocation. We had a guy from Germany not very long ago, and so we're constantly increasing or trying to tweak our caching networks, but that's an ongoing challenge.
And see, so to go on from that, I mean, we saw 796 having a brutal time. Is somebody feedbacking?
CZ, you got a little bit of feedback, I think.
Let me mute myself.
Thanks.
But, yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, we saw 796 had some major downtime. I mean, I've seen all the exchanges have downtime stamp, and you know, it's rather quiet when that goes on. And I know we had the downtime, and the trolls come out, Gox. And I noticed people felt a lot better when 796 went down because they could just check the cold wallet address. And we spoke to Zane before. You know, is there plans, ideas? What are your thoughts on publishing those cold wallet addresses so when stuff does go down, people can be like, look, it's fine, guys, the coins are there. Chill out.
Okay, that's something, publishing the cold wallet address is not something that's completely under my control. That's more of a business decision. I think I need to talk to Star about it. But in the past, we have not disclosed that. We have disclosed that to Stefan Thomas from Ripple Labs because he did our audit, so he actually knows what those addresses are. And we felt there was a competitive disadvantage for disclosing completely, and actually. 796's wallet, the number of coins they hold is very, very small compared to what we hold. But there were some competition concerns on whether to disclose that or not. So far, I think the decision is not to disclose the cold wallet address. But that's a suggestion that I'll take internally. But it's not my decision. I don't really have a strong say in that.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to circle back. Can you mute yourself, CC?
Sure.
I wanted to circle back to Flibber's 13 contract order that took the price down $18, and take a look at, you know, like, I feel like, you know, can you take us through what's going on when an order comes into OKCoin and hits the matching engine? Like, what technically is the process for that? Because I feel like, you know, to have that kind of movement in orders as Flibber is basically executing it, you know, it raises a lot of concerns for me. So can you take me through that process and include how colocation is in that?
Yeah, if I can just chip in with the extra bit of info on that, it was just to say that, you know, what is the process in terms of like these co-location servers? I mean, are they getting? Is it just price notifications they're getting sooner? Like if I send an order, is there a chance that these co-location servers can kind of like see that order hitting the initial server, you know, then place their order beforehand, and which then hits the matching engine and gets fired off before mine has time to do it?
Yeah, and specifically on like a latency arbitrage scenario is kind of what we're looking at here. Because if we're talking about Flibber placing a market order and people beating them to the matching engine, you know, we kind of need to know, you know, what's going on in that process. If you can take us through that.
Sure. Okay, I think. Well, first of all, let me address the concern of the colocation. Okay, so basically, the way the exchange works is very simple. It's a price time priority. So the price, a better price gets priority first, and then at the same price, the first order that was entered gets priority first. And everything that comes, it doesn't matter what source the order comes from, you will get into the same queue. So it's the same time price time priority based on the time the matching engine receives it. And it doesn't matter if it's Colo or other places. Nobody sees nobody else's order until the order hits the matching engine. So the possibility of there's basically no possibility of colocation front running the other client's order because they simply cannot see it until it hits the matching engine. Once the other guy's order hits the matching engine, then everybody sees it. But then the colocation guys might see it first. But they cannot front run those orders. So I think that's definitely not a concern. It's the situation that a small order moved the market a lot is probably because other guys will try to do the same thing while you were placing the market order. So they were already trying to move the market. So it was a bit unfortunate. And also, the colocation services are not that advanced, to be honest. They do have very good latency, but we basically offer them a server in a very close proximity to the matching engine, but they don't have anything else that other users cannot see. They're exactly the same as any other user, any other API trader. So I think that's and that's also one of the reasons we actually didn't really want to implement the cancel all for quite a while. One of the concerns was that a person can put in a large number of orders, and then they will constantly do the cancel, which can cause the market to move very disruptively. So that's one of the concerns we had before implementing the cancel all. And we actually deliberately waited on that feature so that the international exchange volume is relatively high before we launched that. When the volume or the liquidity is relatively high, one single account does not have that kind of impact. So I think as the exchange matures and as our liquidity is quite liquid, I think that those kind of things should go away.
Liberty, do you have that order up?
Yeah, I do have the order up. I mean,
CZ, please.
It's just it's hard to talk about this one, isn't it? But I mean, basically, I was just kind of it's like if you look at the difference. I mean, what are you talking about? You're talking about 1 minute, maybe not even a minute, maybe just 30-second difference between these two orders. And this one at 456, this one 438. I mean, talking almost $20 there. I mean, is it possible somebody just market sold a load of contracts and took down $20, and I just happened to just press market sell on 13 right after? Yeah, sure, why not? So just the way it is, I guess. I mean, to be honest, in all fairness, it's only happened that once. Actually, it happened about 10 minutes later as well, but maybe that's because we were just parabolic and people were desperate to, offload stuff there, and it hasn't happened since, so.
I've noticed that it's gotten better since we moved away from the maker-taker model to the fixed fee structure. I noticed the liquidity or the orders on the book seem to move less, especially with market orders.
Yeah, I think the market maker fee structure is a double-edged sword. It does increase the liquidity quite a bit, but there's a lot of every single market maker is going to be an API trader because you simply cannot market make by hand. And those guys just place a lot of orders, cancel a lot of orders, especially when the market is moving. So when the market is moving very quickly, those market makers they will pull the orders very close to the last trade price back very quickly if there was a significant drop. So to be honest, I'm really not this is a fairly unfortunate case. But I think I personally actually don't really know what the mentality was for those traders at that time, or if it's market makers or not. But I think, as you said, with the current fee structure, we're seeing the market being a lot more stable. So it's kind of a chicken egg problem. When we first launched, we want to invite more market makers to sort of increase the volume, increase the liquidity. And I think right now the liquidity is quite large, and we don't need that anymore. So we want more of a stable market where people can actually get normal behaviors from the market. So I think this kind of problems are no longer appearing so I hope at all. So.
Thanks for that explanation, Susie. Could you hit mute again?
Sorry, yeah.
And then just to pivot down our agenda here, one of the big things I see is there's obviously a lot of traders that say, we want this, we want that, we want, this and whatever. But Zane, can you take us through the way, the priorities are at the exchange? Because you guys have limited resources and such like that, versus what you see as priorities from the traders. I know there's, the good business would say those align completely, but there's going to be an element of, triage that goes with that as far as picking, what are the priorities and such, just so we can, as traders, know going forward what to expect, rather than us saying, which we're going to say on the next part is, where's our OCO orders, where's our algo orders?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So I think there's a few things to take into consideration here. One is you guys, sometimes we get feedback, for example, like our charts suck, right? So instead of just fixing the charts, we decided to go something bigger and do something like the full screen trading view. And that's a big change, that takes a lot of time. It took us quite a while to develop that and get all the kinks worked out. And so when we get some of the feedback, we go ahead and do stuff that you guys might not see in the background. And then once we come out with it, it gets pretty good reception. It's kind of like how Steve Jobs said, customers don't know what they want. And once you come out with it, they end up liking it. And so with something like the full screen trading view, that isn't something that we really, people said that they wanted, was a full screen trading view, but we did get bits and pieces, like we want a better trading interface, we need better charts, we want drawing tools, all that stuff. And then we kind of go on the back end and talk like, all right, how do we get better charts? What can we do on the trading interface? And then kind of merge it all together. And so we do work on projects that we think users will want, but maybe weren't directly asked for. And so there is some of that on the back end of bigger projects that don't directly address the concerns, but address a bunch of concerns at once. And then the other thing is, as CZ brought up, it is hard to have a truly international global exchange because we do have to pander to multiple different customs and multiple different preferences. Like something that the Chinese traders might want that the international traders don't always like. Like, for example, we received feedback on the Chinese side about when you have contracts, just have contracts, and you have Bitcoin, just have Bitcoin, get rid of the conversions. But we ended up deciding to go with kind of a middle. When you're looking at Bitcoin, when you're looking at Bitcoin, just show Bitcoin, but when you're looking at contracts, show the conversion to Bitcoin. And right now our user base is still Chinese mostly, and so that we still get most of our feedback from the Chinese markets, and so we kind of have to play to them as well and build things that they like and that they want to see, while trying to balance that with adding the requests that you guys have put in and the requests that we get from the international side. So kind of the process is we'll have a product meeting at least once a week, and we sit down and we look at what's been recommended, what we think we should add, and what we want to work on, and we kind of go through those and we determine the priority of different ones and what we should work on right now, what we think can wait for a little bit. But just so you guys know, whenever you bring stuff up, whenever you request stuff, it isn't, if we don't add it right away, that doesn't mean that we've decided that we don't want to do it or that we've ignored it. I promise you, all the recommendations, all the suggestions you guys have, I have on file. We've all gone over and we've talked about them. But some of them we view as a little bit lower priority, while some of them we think that need to be fixed a little bit faster.
Just on that
so,
note,
yeah,
what would you say is the most important or top of the list for what's coming next?
I can tell you what was most important, and that was getting all the English languages fixed, all the English language problems fixed, getting all the usability, the little bugs, the Chinese characters in places where, you know, on the English site. That was our main priority, is getting it to where if an English user comes to our site, they won't have any problems of not understanding what it is and telling like, okay, no, this is just a Chinese site that's been translated. So we really tried to make a site that from a Western perspective looked, you know, like a complete site, one that's marketed towards them. And now as we move forward, we have some stuff that we're working on that we think everybody will like. But yeah, keep the suggestions coming. You know, we're listening. We have a note. We have a file of all the stuff that you guys want, and we do talk about it at least once a week about what we wanna go and move ahead with, what we think can wait for a little bit.
Yeah, I think for the next little while, we understand the OCO and algo order types are being the high requests. The OCO order is quite difficult to implement 100% properly. That just requires quite a bit of work on our side to make sure that works well. We also kind of neglected the spot markets for quite a while. We've been working almost exclusively on futures, so we are going to backport some of the features we have on futures back into the spot market. And there are also things on the spot market like the algos that we don't have on the futures, so we're going to merge those two. So that's something we will be working on in the next little while. But some of those things are not easy, especially for futures where you have a very high leverage, and then we have forced liquidation orders, etc. All of those things come into play. We, as Dan said, we never delete a suggestion. So once the suggestion is made, we always have it on the list, and we're really hoping to get those two features out to you guys as soon as possible. But we are working on it.
Yeah, Flipper, did you have something with the app you wanted to go over?
I mean, just a small thing about the mobile app, but it's not the end of the world really. I mean, I did see on user voice somebody had suggested Ripple, and I just wondered, have you ever thought about implementing Ripple so people can do like instant, arbitrage between, bot-based between yourself and kind of other Ripple gateways? Because I mean, to me, I don't know why people aren't using that to kind of basically automate arbitrage between all exchanges instantaneously.
So I assume you mean for deposits and withdrawals?
Yeah, like say you'd have like a USD gateway and a CNY on OKCoin.com, and you've got the USD gateway on Bitstamp, and then if there's any kind of discrepancy between Stamp and OKCoin.com, they could then trade the Bitcoin and then instantly transfer the Ripple from one to another, which would it works something like that, and that was the idea of how I thought it would be utilized by people, because it's an IOU kind of remittance mechanism, isn't it? So I just saw it was on the user voice, and I did see CZ responded, but I mean, whether that's given any serious thought, well, I don't know.
Yeah, becoming a Ripple gateway has some implications in China. So I think by becoming a Ripple gateway, we are supposed to hold RMB fiat currency in hard, in code, not. We actually need to have a securely hold physical RMB storage to be able to become a gateway. There are implications from a regulatory perspective on that, so it's not as easy to do that, especially we are a fairly large target right now. So there are there are regulatory concerns for becoming a Ripple gateway in China for us. I think there's 3 or 4 relatively large Ripple gateways in China already, but they're much smaller profile compared to from a company perspective. So I think that's the main concern for us to become a Ripple gateway. On the international side, maybe we can do it. I think one of the top feedbacks from the user voice side is all these people asking us to add another coin, and so far we felt that making Bitcoins grow is probably the highest priority. If Bitcoins do not grow, all of those other coins probably will not grow either. So that's kind of the feeling we have right now. So we have not spent a lot of energy on adding other altcoins or even looking at other altcoins in a lot of detail. And Ripple is certainly interesting, but I think there are especially in China. I think there are a lot of restrictions that could cause trouble if we adopted that. So Ripple is kind of claiming, or at least intending to be the SWIFT 2, is another SWIFT, digital SWIFT system. But China has very strict foreign exchange and currency controls. So, and that's also why we split the international and Chinese exchanges completely, just so that people who deposit RMB into the China exchange are depositing RMB into China and the USD onto the international one. So there are a lot of those concerns. I understand from the arbitrage perspective, having that kind of exchange is very easy, but there's some problems for us.
Yeah, and someone wanted to step in there.
Oh, so unless that topic's finished.
Yeah, so basically in the short term, I don't think we can become a Ripple gateway.
All right. I've got another question about the mobile app. I did speak to CZ about this in coin markets before. I find it a little bit irritating if I'm on spot trading on CN and I want to go to futures trading on OK International. I have to log out and log in again, which I think on the mobile app, which I think is a bit strange. Is there any chance of you guys integrating that so I can log into both simultaneously?
Yes, we are looking at that, it's just a matter of time. We add that.
Okay, and then the other thing I find difficult about using the mobile app is there's no depth charting, and there's no kind of current, trade history, as in what's going on the exchange. So it's very difficult to actually trade using the mobile app. So really my question is, can you please add another icon so you can see the depth chart, and also maybe on the trading page there's like a blank, hold on a second, get in front of me. There's a blank space there. Maybe you could have a feed of the trades that have been executed on the exchange.
Sure. Okay.
On the left-hand side, bottom left corner, there's a blank space there you could utilize.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. We'll definitely take that into consideration. When we originally did the mobile app, we wanted that to be a cancel all button for emergencies. But then I think the guys did quite a good job with it, and the charts in there are quite fluid and quite smooth. And that kind of grown into a really active mobile trading app. Yeah,
I think it's something that really separates OKCoin from the rest of the exchanges. It's like a really good app.
Yes, thanks for that feedback. Yeah, I think, but the app has gotten a lot bigger than what we originally anticipated. But I think that's a credit to the mobile team on OKCoin. They're quite good. So we'll definitely take that consideration to them, and then hopefully to improve that as well. But on the app side, it's getting a little bit harder to implement quite a lot of the features, and we were talking about algos on the app as well. and we're kind of figuring out which one to go in first. So we'll see. We're kind of deciding what's going to come next on the app.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry?
Go, Drake.
Yeah, one more issue. Regarding, I haven't used the .com sites so much, but on OKCoin.cn, whenever you try and make a withdrawal, then it asks you, it sends an email with the Bitcoin address that you're withdrawing to. So I've got two problems with that. First of all, it looks like you're using a third-party email provider, and that email provider is not even trying to send by encrypted email, TLS connection. So that's something that really should be on by default, so that if the destination SMTP server has SSL, then it will encrypt the connection. Because if you're sending the Bitcoin address across the unencrypted internet, then that's something that can be data slurped, and that's quite a serious privacy issue. I even feel that possibly you don't need to actually have the address you're withdrawing to in the email, and that when you click on the link, it takes you to the website, and then you again can confirm. It says, right, you're going to send to this address. Do you agree, yes or no? I think would be a better model.
Yeah, actually, I think removing the address is obviously a very quick, fast fix. So we'll probably do that first, and then the encrypted SMTP we can do that relatively easily as well.
Sure.
I actually need to go back and check to see which mail provider we're using. I know we're using a Chinese one. Mm-hmm. We looked at SendGrid and MailChimp. We haven't quite made that switch yet, but we may do that actually as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know we went over settlement a lot last time, and now that all the futures go through a weekly settlement process, I brought this up to Zane as far as the fixed margin mode. Basically, when the unrealized P&L moves to a realized P&L on the fixed margin mode, don't those holders of those contracts now have all of their margin calls reset to 5% if they're on 20x? Or how did you guys address that? Because I think that's a huge concern, especially now that we see that futures settlement is kind of a tradable event, and it's continually becoming more so as those that time becomes a period of volatility. As far as somebody that knows that after settlement you have 5% up or down where you can trigger margin calls. How have you guys gone about addressing that, especially from fixed margin, because that's where it's most concerning?
One thing that I posted to Reddit talking about this, as well as I talked to Flipper about it in TeamSpeak, and we did have a blog post about it. What we did to fix this is now if you're using fixed margin mode, all the profit is realized into that contract or into that position's margin. So if I have a position and I get all those profits realized, that puts it into my margin balance so that if I want to, I can withdraw it. But if I don't, it doesn't change what my margin call price is. Before we had it. We had the profits realized into your account balance, and so now it won't change what the margin call is. It just gives you the option to withdraw it if you want. If you don't, it stays in your margin balance.
Yeah, that was a big concern, and I'm glad you guys addressed that point. Did you have something to add, CZ? Or, oh no, Zane, you're talking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, CZ.
So that actually took a while to get right. Initially, we kind of didn't do the settlement, but other futures exchanges in China were doing the daily or weekly settlement so that other people can withdraw their profits out. And then when we did that, then every time the settlement's made, the liquidation price changes without the user knowing. That was a problem. And then we said, okay, then the profits stay in the margin. Only the user can withdraw that, but then they will have to manually move it out of the margin. And then when the user manually move it, they will know that their liquidation point would change. So that took quite a while to figure out. But I think now users are kind of fine with it. And so even though it's settled weekly, after settlement, if you leave your margin in there, your liquidation point doesn't change. Only if you manually take your profits out, then your liquidation point will change.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for addressing that. Just more of a question for Zane here. We've been talking about the revamping the reward point system and what you guys are moving at as far as that goes. I made a suggestion that having TradingView, maybe being able to work a deal out with them where we could redeem our points for TradingView Pro subscriptions. That was just one suggestion. What's the going forward? What is going on there as far as the reward points and the vision there?
So we did a couple things with the reward points. One, we changed a little bit on the spot market so that the reward points don't play as large of a factor. Now it's more volume based. So before, the fees you paid were solely dependent on your reward points, and now the fees you pay for taker are solely dependent on your reward points, and the fees you pay for maker are dependent on your volume. And so if you have higher reward points, you'll get down to 0.1 on taker, and if you have a high volume, you get down to 0 for your makers orders. And then as to being able to redeem your reward points, we talked about this, and I think it's something that we all want to do, and we all recognize that it's a good idea and be kind of a cool feature. But the problem with that is I don't think that's where we want to put our manpower right now, is into trying to get a reward point system where you can spend it. So I'd say that that's been relegated to low priority change. It's something that we'd like to do, but I don't think it's really going to make or break the exchange.
Well,
so I think we're more focused on the exchange part for now.
I mean, generally I agree with you, but I want to make one strong point coming from a Westerner's perspective. There's still the stigma associated with OKCoin and the Chinese exchanges and what's coming out of there. So I actually view a partnership with TradingView, a company out of Chicago, as a christening of legitimacy from them to you. I mean, now they're a startup too, but once we start to see the motion being taken by TradingView aligning or going into agreements with you on something like reward points for subscriptions thing, I think that's kind of a good thing to get the psyche rolling the right direction. That's just my perspective, and I think the reward points itself isn't like a huge thing. We're not going there because we get pro subscriptions. It's just kind of a nice little perk on the side. But I think from the exchange standpoint, you should also consider how that's viewed in a partnership. You're aligning with a U.S. company, and we've been fighting this stigma of the Chinese exchange for a long time.
Well, I think having, as they said, they're now getting large, significant American companies actually using the exchange. Then I think that also goes a long way to breaking that. Maybe the only people who will never believe, the diehards are the r/Bitcoin folks, at Reddit.
The question there is how public they can be about their those institutional accounts. Sure. I think the point Vix made is an extremely good one. Associating yourself with, for example, TradingView might be one of the things that makes you truly international if you're looking to break into the international market. I think it's an excellent proposal.
That I agree. That is a good point, and I think it would go a long way in showing that we are really trying to go after the international market and make strides in being more reliable or trustworthy. So I'll bring that up the next time we touch on that.
Yeah,
I think a big point that's missed by the China haters. I mean, let's face it, the USD market. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know, but they've never really wanted to acknowledge the significance of the Chinese market, on the overall Bitcoin sort of scene and trading scene. And I mean, it's even a surprise to people that Tim Draper was an early adopter investor in with OKCoin. There are many people who don't even realize that. And these are kind of things which you might want to start kind of making an effort of pointing out that it's not just these sort of shady Chinese people who don't know what they're doing. You have so many staff, unlike other exchanges, you've got phone support, email support. I mean, which exchanges have phone support? You can actually pick up the phone and speak to someone. Which exchanges are reaching out to the community and being open, with traders about what's going on. So this is I think that would really help with the PR battle.
Yeah, I agree. As to the people that hate on China, I think it can all just be chalked up to people fear what they don't know. And you were getting these people were all loving China when the price was going up. But then, the first thing comes out in Chinese and it causes the price to go down, and people are freaking out because they can't read that release. They have to rely on interpretations of what other people are saying. They don't know what's going on over there, and so they just have fear because, you fear what you don't know.
China's
I
buying.
think
Woohoo.
You pumping?
China's selling. I hate China.
It's very much like that. I think, like you guys said, being transparent and continuing. I think a lot of it is just continuing to do what we're doing. Have 24-hour support on phone, on live chat, on email, and then as we start to push heavier with marketing, and do things like you guys were recommending with TradingView. It will kind of start to change the tide. At least that's the hope.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say we are getting some questions coming in that I feel like CZ, what is the website you guys are taking the panel questions for? I'm sorry, not the panel. The suggestions for the site.
It's OKCoin.
Okay. Go ahead.
It's okcoin.uservoice.com.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of good stuff on that. That's just kind of somebody asked, like, can you put the calculator back on the charts page? And I don't want to use up too much of this time because we've addressed some really big issues, and that's a little bit more at the small technical end. So I just wanted to refer people over there if they want to submit and get votes and get that stuff changed. Adam, actually I'll go to you right now. Adam, do you have a question for OKCoin? We'll do our panel. We'll go down the panel right now. So Adam, you can start.
Cool. Yeah. Again, thanks again for doing this. Much appreciated by us. You know that. But my brother reminded me of this yesterday, and especially last Friday with the Bitcoin bull here in the U.S. It was a big deal for us U.S. Bitcoiners. But we were thinking a lot of people would be, especially people like my dad who are watching the game, going to Bitcoin.com, which apparently I had heard y'all bought from blockchain, and it doesn't look that great, and it's not really fully functioning yet. Could you just speak to that, perhaps?
Sure. We got the domain 2 weeks ago, and we've been trying to. We put a placeholder there. People didn't like it. We tried to put another placeholder there. People hated it even more. So we're still working on that site. We want Bitcoin.com to, and actually, so right now, 95% of the big people who land on Bitcoin.com is either the mom, dad, or the first-time Bitcoiner, the very first-time brand new user to Bitcoin. So we want to make that site to tailor to brand new Bitcoin users, and we want that to be an informational site for new users, including tutorials, guides, maybe some product reviews, and probably a little bit of news. We're looking for a news partner. We don't want to be a news publisher. That's not our business. So, but we are working on that site. It's a little bit unfortunate that the Bitcoin bull just happened and the site wasn't quite ready. That was a bit of a shame, but That's another thing that we took on, and we do want to do a good job with it. That just takes a little bit longer than 2 weeks. So we are still working on it. Well, in fact,
Would you work with the likes of CoinDesk or whatnot for new?
Yes, I actually have reached out to CoinDesk, and they are quite interested. We're just trying to get the site up first, so that the rest of the stuff is there, and then so I think the news is not. I think the news will be good on there, and that's kind of that will become a default portal. People go for Bitcoin stuff. That will become the Bitcoin portal.
Can you go into detail on how you guys acquired it? I know they had blockchain was owning it before. Blockchain.info had a 5-year contract or whatever that apparently didn't work out. Can you go into details on that? Was that due to security issues or more a higher offer?
Well, I was kind of I was at blockchain when blockchain landed that deal, and I was at OKCoin when OKCoin. Well, I was handling that deal at OKCoin. So I do know the owner of that domain, and I don't know what happened with on the blockchain side. But the owner of the domain kind of expressed interest, and we were very interested, of course. So we just reached a deal very quickly to handle that domain. I think that's a very good opportunity for us, and it works quite well. So other than that, I don't know how much more I can disclose.
All right. Zane,
How long do you have the domain for?
We have the domain for about 5 years as well, unless we screw up. So,
Zane, you wanted to answer some questions?
Yeah, just the guy on Reddit asked, when clicking on orders in full screen mode, they need to be in cumulative mode, i.e. clicking orders further down the order book, add all the previous orders in total as opposed to just the value of that particular order. If you look at the full screen mode, it says price, amount, cumulative. If you just click on amount, then yeah, it'll only fill the amount for that order. But if you click on cumulative, it'll add the cumulative amount of that order plus all the orders before that. And so yeah, it's just clicking one to the left. He needs to click one to the right, and he'll get the cumulative.
All right. Continuing down the panel, BitInvest, you got any specific question that you want to ask?
I wanted to circle back to the. You were highlighting your efforts at breaking into the international market, and if I look at this international market, like from my perception, you guys are already at least a small part, if not a big part, of the international market. If I see like the activity on Twitter and all that, and I know it's a very selective group and it's probably not totally representative, but still, you definitely have a presence on the international market as well. Could you give us your own estimate of what your market share is internationally?
I think there are a couple of different aspects to that, because a lot of the users, a lot of the traders, like you guys, a lot of you guys are on futures, and so futures and spot trading, that's two different aspects. And then I think the other thing is peer-to-peer lending on Bitfinex. That I don't know if you're counting the lenders as traders or not, because they have a lot of their volume comes from margin trading, and a lot of their users are purely lenders. They go there to lend their money, but they don't trade.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you're trying to catch up on that, right?
Well, yeah, that's a big reason why we launched peer-to-peer trading on .com, is so that we can attract the people that are attracted to just loaning out their coins, and as well as people who like margin trading on the spot market versus futures.
Do you have an API? Because there's that bfxdata.com. Do you have an API that can extract that data, and someone could build a service similar?
There's a fundamental difference in the way that lending is done on OKCoin and Bitfinex. And so if you look at the BFX data, it kind of goes by how many people are long, how many people are short, and what the loans are going to. But the way that we do the loans is we kind of, instead of doing a loan every time you take an order, we do a block of loans. Or we do it in a block. So you see a loan, you can take it, and then you can let some of it sit idle in your account, or you can trade with all of it. It's up to you. And
yeah,
so
I think I think actually that's a common misunderstanding with Finex. They look at the active swaps. So active swaps doesn't mean a swap that's being used for a trade. It just means someone's reserved that swap. So I think it is similar to what you're doing. Because you can go to Bitfinex, and if you could take a block of 5,000 Bitcoin at a preferential rate, because you think that at some point it's going to be good, and you don't want the interest rate to go up if you just borrow on spot. So you borrow in advance and wait. If you lend on that platform like for 30 days, you often find people literally take your loans for 30 days. If it's available. So I think it is the same, and that's why also on BFX data sometimes without any accompanying volume there can be significant drops in the amount of active swaps that are available.
All right, well my apologies, I was mistaken.
And
but it's very good data. It's really, really good data for traders. That.
Yeah, it is. That is. I look at
Absolutely.
those shorts on Bitfinex quite a bit, so that would be a huge data source for us traders to look at if we could get that.
I want it too.
Yeah. And then continuing down the panel, I asked AABTC, Actual Advice BTC, do you have any questions you want to ask? Do you want to come on, Mike? And I'll take his silence as no. We'll swing back if he does have anything. But Flibber?
No, I mean, to be honest, I've covered it, but I did have a personal suggestion for the mobile. Very quick with it. What it was just to say the navigation, because you said you're looking for an upgrade. The navigation on the mobile is very like from the futures panel into this, back to this, into this, a lot of back and forth, and like if you want to go back and then check the charts, you got to go back into charts, change the time setting, back to the main one, then back to thingy, then check open orders. Yeah, there's a lot of like back and forth. And what I really wanted when I was away on holiday using my phone was just to say, look, I'm interested in charts, open orders, open positions, and weekly futures. And I just want to shortcut those and just have them create a shortcut on my home page on my app, so I can just go back and forth on just one screen on the app. Because I don't use anything else on it.
Okay, that's a pretty suggestion. Yeah.
I wrote that down. Touch on that tomorrow.
All right, then we're going to wind the panel down right here, and usually we go down the panel and everyone says thanks, so I'll just do a big thanks from the trader community as far as you guys at OKCoin taking the time out. It's, what is it, almost 2 a.m. over there in China to sit down with us traders, engage us, hear us out, implement slowly but surely many of the suggestions that we've brought up, as well as to take the criticism in the face and not run away from that. I greatly appreciate that, and I know this panel does too, because we're all here. And I'll give that the final word to you and Zane and CZ.
Thanks for organizing this. It's much appreciated. Yeah, I mean, as you guys were talking about the international reach for OKCoin, we definitely want to become a dominant player in the international space. So I think your support and your suggestions or your feedback on telling us how to improve is very much appreciated. Sometimes we don't move as fast as we want to. I think we're moving quite fast compared to other people, but still we always want to move faster. So at the times when we couldn't move as fast as we want to, please bear with us. Other than that, I think happy holidays, happy New Year. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Yeah, like CZ said, you guys help us a long way, and CZ, can you mute your microphone?
Sorry.
But your guys' help and constant feedback definitely goes a long way in helping us build an exchange for the international market. And we're always listening. I'm always on Reddit reading what you guys are writing. I'm always on WeChat for you guys that have me on WeChat talking to you guys, and the feedback and support really helps. And thank you guys very much for taking the time out to help us. I mean, in the end, these talks are just as much a help for us as it is for you guys. So Yeah, happy holidays. Cheers, and have a good one.
Thank you guys, and obviously you can find CZ at his Twitter handle. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'll include that in the show notes. But a big thanks from all of us on the panel. Me at Bitcoin Bravo, at Flibber, at BTC Drake, at Colin Lachey, at Actual Advice BTC, AKW Analytics, and that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot.